All right, shalom, shalom, brothers. First off, I'm going to give all the praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders and teachers at Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. My name is Brother Hawashai Zion. I'm just coming through with this message. Not sure how long it'll go, but I'm reloading this SmackDown series because I didn't like the way it was done the first time, so I'm just redoing it, man, and doing a little bit different. So today, I'm going to be going into the term Christianity, where it's mentioned in the Bible. And not only that, but furthermore, going into the contemporaries of Yahweh Shai, okay, and rather the contemporaries of Paul, because when Flavius Josephus was born, Yahweh Shai had already resurrected and all the witnesses were already there, okay? So this man, Flavius Josephus, was actually born in 37 AD. And this was the time past already when Yahweh Shai had already risen from the grave, man. All right. And I'm going to get into the scriptures as well as the book of antiquities of the Jews written in Josephus's book. Now, this man's name is actually Joseph, Yahweh Sab. But actually, they call him Flavius because he took on those names after he basically defected after becoming liberated from slavery, because he was a slave in the Roman Empire, but then set free. Okay, we're going to go into all that, man. Flavius Josephus was really just Josephus. Okay, and this thing want to act up. See if I reach this. Slocky, my brothers. The real one's gonna hang around, man. You're gonna come and get this work. See, because the scriptures are work. You have to go into it, figure this out. You know what I mean? Put in the work, man. Put in the effort. So let's read about what Flavius Josephus was recording in Antiquities of the Jews. Remember, he was a general. All right. Matter of fact, let's go into the Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary about Flavius Josephus, man. Let me not even say my words, what I've done in research. All right, this is page 634. Josephus Flavius. It says, a Jewish historian and a general of the Galilean / it's a Jewish, but we just going to say Israelite army in the war against Rome, AD 66 to 70. All right. So remember who was in power at that time, man. Okay. Nero, to the passing of the guard, and the multiple emperors that were, going through the motions and things, changing hands in the Roman Empire. So things were changing quickly. Similar to America, how we have presidents coming in power every 4 years. These people were getting assassinated every couple years, man. And it was real hostile, So anyways, it says the historical works of Josephus provide important background information for the New Testament and the late intertestamental period, meaning right after Yahweh Shai passed and everything like that, and then resurrected, don't forget. But also, there was information that nobody really recorded besides this man. So this man's important, and he never mentioned Christianity. Because we're going to go into the term Christian and Christianity and how you so-called Christians adopt this type of terminology when really that was hyperbole, okay? And basically it wasn't supposed to mean what you think it means, and you think it means something, that you're going to swear by, and basically what you're not supposed to be swearing on anything anyways. You let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. But you Christians got it wrong, and we're going to go into all types of history and stuff. If you don't like history, just tune out right now because you're not ready for this. If you're not scholarly, this just isn't for you because you need to learn information to teach it. So it says the historical works, as I said, provided important background information for the New Testament and the late intertestamental period. They include information on agriculture, geography, politics, religion, which is worship, social traditions and practices, and insights into outstanding personalities such as Herod. Now, there's multiple Herods, so let me pause right there. There's multiple Herods. Herod Agrippa the First, Herod Agrippa the Second, Herod the Great, Okay, Herod Antipas. There's multiple Herods, and you need to go and study the Herodian dynasty, which you can find easily in this book right here. If you're not privy to these books, you need to go and buy this book right here and just open it up, and you learn about the Herodian dynasty. It makes a difference because when you're reading in the scriptures, it says Herod, but it doesn't differentiate which one it is. If you don't know what time period you're even talking about, you read in the scriptures for no reason because you don't even know what's going on. All right. You have to know who he's talking to, what's the context, when and how, all of these things. So it says Herod and Felix, and refers to John the Baptist, James the Lord's brother, and Yahushua. So this man was mentioned in Yahushua. Why? Because again, he was a contemporary historian, meaning during Josephus's time, he was born in 37 AD. Okay. I want to say like 5 or 23-ish. He was in the military, and he was fighting as a Jew. He was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, and he was fighting in the war against Rome, which obviously we know how that turned out. Okay, and he served, like it says, from 66 AD to 70. So if he was born in 37, you do the math. Okay, and he served as a general, but eventually what happened? He ended up going into slavery. He got captured, defeated or whatever, went into slavery, and then freed from slavery, granted Roman citizenship, and used as an interpreter, man. So, and eventually he pretty much defected. But let's look into the words that he recorded in his book right here of Josephus. And I got this out, and I got different things pulled up. So this is what you got to do. Anyways, let's get it. This is the Book of Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 18, 3 and 3. It says, now there was about this time, Jesus, they call it, right, was really Yahushua. We know the same name for Joshua was changed to Jesus in 200 AD. You can go and reference in the JewishEncyclopedia.com. Hellenization or Hellenism, scroll down and you'll find out what I'm saying is recorded in their own books, and that's what we're talking about. But we're going to call him Yahushua, but I'll also mention as it's written, because that's his true name is Yahushua, not Jesus, man. It says, this is chapter 18, 3 and 3. It says, now there was about this time Jesus, which is Yahushua, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man. For he was a doer of wonderful works. Now remember, wonder means awe-inspiring. He was doing miracles. A teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Messiah, when they got the word Christ in there, but we don't say Christ, because that just means anointed. And they didn't foretell the anointed to come, because many are anointed, okay? The Lord Yahweh said, touch not mine anointed and do my prophets no harm. You see? And I expect for this particular lesson not to get a lot of views, because people don't like really learning shit, man. They like just messing around and getting drama. So you're not going to get any drama in this now, man. This is your time to end. Antiquities of the Jews 3 and 3 continued. It says, in regards to Yahushua, let me just read it again. It says, he drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Messiah. And when Pilate, that's Pontius Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross. Now let me stop right there. The principal men amongst us at that time was the chief priests and the elders. Okay, they were the ones that condemned Yahushua. And Pilate just went along with it, and he was a Gentile, a real natural Gentile. He was not an Israelite foreigner. He was a straight up Gentile. So anyways, it says, had condemned him to the cross. Those that loved him at the first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them alive again the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. And the tribe of, it says Christians, right? But listen, it's followers of the way, so named from him, are not extinct at this day. So remember this, brothers. This term Christian is added in. When you really look at the derivative of this word, it just about the same time, also another sad calamity put the Jews into disorder. A certain shameful practices happened about the temple of Isis that was at Rome. And then he goes into more things, okay? And, he's going to go into a lot of drama, a lot of different personalities and things, different people, okay? But now that's that on that, okay? So now let's look at this man's information right here. This is in Wikipedia, and they got it right here. It says, the first and most extensive reference of so-called Jesus in the antiquities found book 18, that's where it was right there, states that Yahushua was the Messiah and a wise teacher who was crucified by Pontius Pilate. Bear in mind what time that this guy was writing this, okay? You have to understand when this was written in the, I want to say it was the, this man was 56 years old. So he was born in 37 AD. And if we do the math on that, let me see, man. $37. So 93. 93. Okay. Right around 93 AD, that's when Antiquities of the Jews was written. Okay. Minus 37. So he was 56 years old, this man. Again, remember, he was a general and also, became a slave and then freed, all right, and turned Roman citizen and interpreter and also historian to Titus, and I believe this space as well. So let's just look into this, man. All right. It says, it is commonly called the Testimonium Flavium. And it says, some modern scholars reject the authenticity of this passage in its present form, while most scholars nevertheless hold that it contains an authentic nucleus referencing the life and execution of Yahushua by Pilate, which was subject to supposed Christian interpolation, okay, which basically means textual insertion or damage to the regular text and whatnot, which is, I don't believe it's true, you know what I'm saying? Because this man was basically going off. He was a contemporary. He lived in the time. He lived in the time, the same time when Paul was living, man. All right. It says, however, the exact nature of the extent of the Christian, so-called Christian, addition remains unclear. Modern scholarship has largely acknowledged the authenticity of the second reference to Yahushua and antiquities found in Book 20, Chapter 9, which mentions the brother of Jesus, which is really Yahushua, who was called, it says the Messiah, who was named James. The reference is considered to be more authentic than the testimonium, which was from the prior one, man. All right. You see how most people will tune out of this. I'm expecting them to tune out of this because there's only of the elect who watch this, maybe like 2 of you. You know what I mean? Most people are not going to get into none of this shit because they don't care. It's boring to them because nobody's getting slandered. Nobody's getting talked about. You know what I mean? Because that's what you really want to see. You want to see people get talked shit on. We're not doing that over here. We actually researching stuff. So that's why you're going to tune out, because you don't got the attention span. Most of the common folk don't have the attention span, and you so-called Christians don't have the attention span. All right? But nonetheless, man, let's keep it moving. So it says, almost all modern scholars consider the reference in Book 18, Chapter 5 of the Antiquities to the imprisonment and death of John the Baptist also to be authentic and not a so-called Christian insert, which is a interpolation. Again, a textual insertion. Okay? It says a number of differences exist between the statements by Josephus regarding the death of John the Baptist and the New Testament accounts. Scholars generally view these variations as indications that Josephus's passages are not inserts or interpolations, because I got talking to common terms, all right? It says, since a Christian, so-called interpolator, which means an insertionist, basically, would likely have made them correspond to the New Testament accounts, not differ from them. But let's keep it real though, right? When John the Baptist was alive, Flavius Josephus was not even alive. So you got to know what's going on. That's why you got to know who's what. Now let's look up the word Christian in the Bible real quick. This is Acts 26 and 28. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, almost thou persuadest me to be a Christian. Now let's look at the word for Christian. Because the disciples never called themselves Christians. Never. All right? Let's look at the word for Christian. Cristianos. G5546.
Strong's G5546. Christianas. Christianas.
Christianas, see? Cristianos, really. It says follower of the Messiah. Follower of Messiah. And then it says Christian. It says the name later down in the Strong's Greek lexicon. You got to read when you find out what that even means. You know what I'm saying? It says the name was first given to the worshipers of Yahushua by the Gentiles. There you have it. Non-believers deemed them Christians. You didn't call yourself that, so why the hell are you doing that? In the scriptures, it talks about, let me get this, followers of the way, where's the good way, and walk therein. Let me get that. See? You need to understand this, man. Jeremiah 6. So the so-called, the believers at the time never ever called themselves that. You need to understand this, man. Christianos means a follower of Yahushua, but it says here the name was first given to the worshipers of Yahushua by the Gentiles. So we don't go by the ways of the Gentiles. The scriptures say, learn not the ways of the heathen. So why are you calling yourselves Christians? You don't know that the contemporary scholars never talked about none of that stuff. They never corroborated such a term. They spoke about followers of the way. Followers of the way. And also, he was deemed the Messiah, never Christ. That's madness. Even though the official language at the time was Greek, but remember that Flavius Josephus was an Israelite. He was a Jew from the tribe of Judah. So these history videos, I know they're not going to get a lot of clicks and views and likes and subscribers. That's all fine and dandy, man. You can see your way out, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't really care about getting clout, man. I never started doing this for clout. I never wanted it and never going to need it. You understand? Because if the Lord approves of me, I'm good to go. I got to bring out the knowledge so that you can understand. You so-called Christians are calling yourselves Christians, following these different things, that the Gentiles, the natural Gentiles, have put on you. And it ultimately goes back to Psalm 83. Let us cut them off from being a nation, it goes into. That the name, which means the mannerisms and everything they represent, the law, statutes, and commandments, would no more be remembered. And that's what you're doing now. You don't know what your head from your tail, man. You don't know what's going on. You don't know you're an Israelite. You don't know if you're from a tribe. You're from one of the tribes of Israel. So-called black man, Hispanic, Native American, Latino. Native. So it says right here, the name first given to the worshipers of Yahushua by the Gentiles, but from the 2nd century, bear in mind, that's 200 years later, or really 100 past years later, because the 2nd century, 1st century would be, 30 AD, whatnot. So when it's 100 AD, it's the 2nd century, basically. It's the turn of it, close to it, rather, Salakia. So it says, but from the 2nd century, the 2nd 100-year century period, Justin Martyr, apology, it says, dialogue, contra trifle, teaching, etc., onward, accepted by them of the title of honor, Lapis. Okay, let me keep going down. Yet see, all right, titles of believers in the New Testament. It says under the word of the titles, a title of believers in the New Testament. Remember who gave you that title, though. It was never you. So you don't go by what people say, all right? You go by what the scriptures say. This is Jeremiah 6:16. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see. Ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein? And ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. So you so-called Christians of today's day, you don't even want to listen to this. You don't want to learn about your true origin, or really the true term origin, should I say, because a lot of you're really not even Israelites. You're just showing up to church to go either try to find a job or something, find a wife or some bullshit like that. Some of you women try to go to church to go pray for a husband, and hopefully he gonna tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, hey, sister. You know what I mean? You go there to flirt, man. A lot of you women go there to flirt in the so-called Christian harlot houses, the churches where really the Lord said in the scriptures, okay, let me get it, man. Let me go get it real quick. Let me get this, man. Let me tell you what the scriptures say about people in these damn churches, man. Acts 7:48. Howbeit, the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as saith the prophet. So the Lord ain't dealing with none of that, man. Verse 49. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. What house will ye build me, saith the Lord? Or what is the place of my rest? So you have to understand that, you know what I mean? The Lord is not, you're not going to build a house onto the Lord because he can't fit in your little box that you're building because you're this small to him and he's this big to you. So you're not on his level. You want to really please the Lord? Keep the commandments. This is the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14, man. You got to read that. Okay, so Christian really is hyperbole. What's hyperbole? It says an exaggerated statement or claim not meant to be taken literally. Okay, somebody exaggerated that. An overstatement, an amplification. All right, that's what that really is, man. Excess, overkill, puffery, basically bullshit, really. Embellishment, really. It is embellishment. Look, overplaying, excess, basically talking shit, man. So they were talking shit. Okay? So we don't call ourselves a Christian. You either live the life that's written in the scriptures or not. So that term or whatever definitely was inserted. It was inserted, okay, into Flavius Josephus' Antiquities of the Jews, because it really is meant to be derogatory. And this man was neutral. He was like, look, I don't even believe in that, but this is what it is. The prophets, this is what it is. Okay, so let's go back to Josephus. This is Wikipedia about Josephus. It says Josephus wrote all of his surviving works after his establishment in Rome, AD 71, under the patronage of the Flavian Emperor Vespasian. Now let's look at Mr. Vespasian. Who was he? He was a Roman general, or rather, excuse me, he was a Caesar, excuse me. Let's get it. Vespasian, it says Latin Vespasianus, and he was born November AD, let me see this, 9 to 23, June, it says 79, was a Roman emperor from 69 to 79. And again, that's after the time when Paul recorded in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, his writings, which were around 60 AD. You see, brother, Kassad, I told you, there's not going to be a lot of people tuned into this one, man. Look at that. That's how you know who's really about the Lord and who's not, my man. That's how you know what it is, brother. And I did this video on purpose to make it boring for you, because you're not going to see me talking shit or saying this and that, or pumping you up. We're not doing that today, man. And I know this was going to happen, because this how much people are full of shit, man. It's crazy, bro. You can't handle it. It says Vespasian was the first emperor from the equestrian family. And it says, and only rose later in his lifetime into senatorial rank as the first member of his family to do so. Vespasian's renown came from his military success. He was legate of Legio II Augusta during Roman invasion of Britain in 43 AD, and subjugated Judea during the Jewish rebellion, which really is the Israelite rebellion, of 66. Because remember, they were accusing him of fires and things like that. And then at that time, you know, he had to do what he had to do. And his successor was Titus. So Flavius Josephus, you know, was dealing at time of Vespasian, and that's when he was recording what was going on. And this is just important for you to know. Now, you may think, well, why do I need to know that? Because I'm telling you, you need to know it, man. I'm saying it, man. It's important to the scriptures for context, to put yourself in the matter, man. So let me go back to about Josephus. It says, as is common with ancient texts, however, there are no known manuscripts of Josephus's works that can be dated before the 11th century, and the oldest which do survive were copied by so-called Christian, and it says monks. That's what they say in here. In this, it says Jews are not known to have preserved the writings of Josephus, perhaps because he was considered a traitor, and he was a traitor, and or because his works circulated in Greek, the use of which declined among Jews shortly after Josephus's era. And I can see that happening, because a lot of people are not going to really receive Josephus based on his defection. He was a goddamn traitor. He was a backstabber, and he really only cared about himself, because after he was, you know, he was a general in the Israelite army, and he basically got captured, and he became a slave, and then an interpreter, and then a Roman citizen, and then a historian. And really, the guy was a sellout, man. He was a goddamn sellout. But the fact that he supports what's written in the scriptures in Antiquities of the Jews 18:3 and 3, that's alarming, man. That's something that caused an eyebrow to raise. Oh, hold on. Let me go and read about that. Maybe this guy's onto something because he doesn't refute Yahweh Shai was the Messiah. He supports it. And remember, he's a contemporary of the modern historians of the time of Yahweh Shai and the followers that came after. Even though he was born in 37 AD, Paul around 60 AD, when he served, really ultimately was, Paul was in jail around 60 AD and writing all of these different things, appearing before the magistrates at the time, in front of Salakia, Herod Agrippa II, requesting to speak with the Caesar at the time. You understand? And then after that, Josephus was also in the mix, writing about things that occurred. So you don't think him being very close to the emperor of Rome at the time was not seeing what was going on with Paul? Paul was a major figure, man. He's responsible for writing 2/3 of the New Testament, which I believe was 17 books. So you need to understand the time era and that he's a contemporary, and he didn't call nobody Christians, man. They were followers of the way. That was a term given to Israelites who followed the scriptures and followed Yahweh Shai by the Gentiles. So you personally, you so-called Christians, shouldn't be calling yourselves Christians, man. If you really followed Yahweh Shai, he never called himself a Christian. None of the Israelites ever called themselves Christians. So there's no need for you to do so. You're following the ways of the Gentiles, man. Facts. Because the Gentiles called you Christians. And the Lord said in the scriptures, learn not the ways of the heathen. Jeremiah 10, which just so happens to be the holiday, really, of so-called Christmas, talked about and rebuked through that scripture. Jeremiah 10 talks about not to follow Christmas, the so-called holiday that is upon us. But it's really not a holiday. It's an evil day. Saturnalia is a disgusting period of which this lawlessness, witchcraft, sorcery, and all types of debauchery takes place right now. Let me go back to Flavius Josephus and speak about him. And this is the Wikipedia.org on him. So it says, extant manuscripts, paragraph 2. It says, there are about 120 extant Greek manuscripts on Josephus, of which 33 predate the 14th century, with 2/3 of the Komnenos period. It says Latinized as Komnenos was a Byzantine Greek noble family who ruled, it says, the Byzantine Empire in the 11th and 12th century. The first reigning member, Isaac the first, Komnenos, ruled from 1057 to 1059. So just so you know. It says the earliest surviving Greek manuscript that contains the testimonium is the 11th century Ambrosianus, 370, and it says preserved in the Biblioteca Ambrosiana in Milan, which includes almost all the second half of the Antiquities. Remember, the Antiquities is talking about the history of the Israelites. Now, this guy, Flavius Josephus, lived in that time. So what he says does hold some type of weight. You got to take everything from a grain of salt because there's only one testimony. The testimony of two is valid. But remember that he supports what the scriptures say regarding Yahushua being the Messiah. Okay? And regarding people not abandoning him, which he heard from eyewitnesses. Because he was around at the same time when the eyewitnesses seen Yahushua. He was born. So word got around, man. This was a life-changing event for real. And what's crazy is, brothers, that we lived in that time too. We just don't remember it because, the things of former times, there's no remembrance of that. We don't know what's going on. You don't know who you were in the ancient world, what your name was, none of that shit. The Lord will let you know if he wants to. And after you pass. So yeah, I just wanted to, I don't want to load too much information on you brothers. But yeah, so the scriptures, it talked about a follower, G5546. So you shouldn't be calling yourself a Christian. This series is probably going to get a lot of views at some point in time, but probably not initially, because you're actually going to learn something. And people, when they learn something, they got to be sincere, all right? That's how you know when there's only 5 people that maybe click that button, that's because they're not really serious, and it doesn't make them happy to hear about the history of any of this. But yeah, basically Christianity is a term, like it says here, Strong's G5546. It's mentioned in Acts 11 and 26, Acts 26 and 28, when King Agrippa said, then Agrippa said unto Paul, almost thou persuadest me to be a Christian. Which again, the word was in Greek. So just like Jesus is written in English, when the name we know by the so-called Jewish encyclopedia.com and the word Hellenization, Hellenism, when you scroll down, it was the name Jesus, ultimately Joshua, was changed to Jesus or Jason. Those were changed. They weren't transliterated or this was, moved over. It was completely changed. So if I take your name as John and I change it to June, that's not your name, bro. You're not going to say, hey, man, my name is really John, but they changed it to Joan. It takes everything away. And that's the same thing. This is just completely different. Christianos, Christ just means anointed. Remember, the Messiah was a Messiah. Ha-Mashiach, the Messiah. His name wasn't anointed. He wasn't Yahushai anointed. No, he was the Messiah that was foretold in the Old Testament. It's a Hebrew word. So why would you be calling yourself a so-called Christian? Let's get it. It says here, Strong's G5546. The name was first given to the worshipers of Yahushai by the Gentiles. You understand that? And I rest my case on that, man. That's it. I have nothing further to say about that particular matter. So again, Josephus never mentioned none of that stuff. That word Christian and all of that stuff was mentioned, or really first mentioned, 100 years after Yahushai. So it's not a contemporary scholar. That is not a contemporary, which means of the time, with that time period. Nobody ever mentioned the word Christian during the time of Yahushai. They never said that. So why are you saying it? And that's how you know things are fraudulent. Just like when they talk about, what's this guy? King James. They talk about King James was gay and all of this bullshit. That's a lie. King James was not ever talked about by his contemporary historians speaking anything about him being a homosexual. All that's lies, man, to try to discredit the man. That's slander and it's lies and wickedness. And the Lord is going to punish all of these things, man. All right? So I could go further into this, man. But Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem HaRakak. If you don't like the history, that's fine. This video is not for you. But you're going to learn something because we're going into the books. Chapter 18, 3 and 3. We're going into this one right here. Page 634 about Flavius Josephus. And I told you about the scriptures are really ultimately to read about the Herodian dynasty inside of this book, because it's going to differentiate between all the Herods that's mentioned in the scriptures, so you know what time period you're living in the scriptures, or what you're reading rather. Okay? So with that, shalom, on to the next one.